Hey, besties. Let's throw some shade, honey. You ready to get into it? Dolores, do you need me to call U-Haul for you, or do you want me to wait? Because, baby, Polly about to put you out. That bad, lovely, beautiful townhouse that you love so much. He about to drop you to the curb, girl. You better chill. You gonna be over there back at your house with your kids, enjoying your swimming pool and all your dogs, and Frank running in and out. Well, I guess I could say Frank and Brittany running in and out the house all day and whatever they feel like it. Girl, how did you get in this pickle again? And John and Rachel, could you grammar snobs please stop asking Teresa, was it a verb? What verb did you use? Was it was or is? Will you please stop asking her that? Teresa don't know what a verb is. All Teresa know how to do is run her mouth, flappity flap them big old inflated lips and say, my husband, my husband, my husband, my husband. She is so happy to be remarried. My husband, my husband, my husband. Goodness gracious. Ah, hey, besties. What's up? It's Behind the Shade once again with another recap of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. It's season 14. This is episode 6, Margs and Marriage. That's the name of it. Yeah, I guess. I don't understand the title. I get Margs as in margaritas because the gins went and had and shared a big old margarita, but where did the anyway? No, moving on. So while you're here, go ahead and click the like button. Make sure you subscribe so you can always be notified when I go when I post a video. Not going live just yet. And let's see how about you rate this episode, besties? It was cool. It was okay. It was okay. I'm gonna give it a C. And as I talk, maybe it'll go up or down. So we start off. The episode starts off. The Gorgas are at home, acting like they're so shocked that Antonia called. And by the look on her face, and then the look on her parents' face, it seems as if Antonia has to call at a certain time every day. That's what it was giving. They was already sitting there. Oh, it's Antonia. Like they were surprised. Y'all making her check in. She's checking in. She got the roommate there. Joe talking smack about her. She's listening. He had to clean that up. So anyway, we talked to the new student of is it Michigan or is she in Delaware? Let's say Michigan. I don't remember. I know one was going one and one was going to the other place. So anyway, let's assume she's in Michigan. So Antonia calls. They ask Melody, not Melody. Oh my goodness. Melissa asks, what is she majoring in? What does she decide? So she says business management. And so Melissa just misses having her girl in the house because she's the only girl left, at the house. She has the two boys, her husband, and even the dog is a boy. So she just is missing that feminine energy. So she's talking to Joe about the brunch. And when Danielle asked Teresa and Jennifer Aiden, was this a setup? They going back to that. So Joe says, yeah, like, what does she think? Duh. And so then we move on to Jackie is visiting Teresa, and she is so happy to be there. She is so happy to be in good graces with Teresa. So she hugs Adriana, and Teresa's telling her how she stopped doing dance and now she picked up volleyball, and so she's not dancing anymore, and that's why she left the brunch early because she had to go see her first volleyball game. So then Jackie says, well, I don't blame you for wanting to leave early. Well, boo boo, you sure didn't get up. You should have got up with Teresa and left too. You sure was sitting there. Girl, please. So then Melissa tells Joe that Jackie is vibing with, Jennifer, Aiden, and Teresa. And Joe was like, what? Because how did that even come about, right? So Melissa says, oh, yeah, I'm in the Twilight Zone about it, actually. And so then we flash back to Teresa's house. So Jackie is saying how she's glad Margaret wasn't there at the brunch because she wasn't in the mood. Like she wasn't in the mood for all that. And so Teresa, she calls Margaret Sherlock Holmes. And so she said, well, yeah, I can't believe Sherlock Holmes missed it. It's like, so then back at Melissa's and Joe's, Melissa's like, Teresa was like, wait, Jackie, you don't like Margaret? Well, let's be friends again. I was like, that was funny. I like that. So then Teresa's telling Jackie that she likes women who stand in their own power and they're, strong women and like you're strong now. And so Jackie's like, yeah, I've been broken for such a long time and now I'm not. And so Teresa's like, yeah, I'm proud of you, girl. I'm proud of you. So Jackie says she feels like the energy coming from her and Jen A is lighter and more fun. And Teresa's like, yeah, we like to have fun. Let's have fun. And so, Jackie's like, I don't want the heavy stuff. And then tells her when she said John Fuda was a parking attendant, she was like, I almost fell out of my FUC bleep chair. Teresa says, girl, I'll chew Rachel. I'll chew her up and spit her out. Oh, God. So Rachel talks to Margaret. She called her. And Margaret is in South Carolina celebrating one of her best friend's birthday. The friend's turning 60. And it's a group of 12 women. And I had never heard this term called yentas. So I had to look it up. And it's like, and it means like busybodies gossiping and like, just girly stuff. So she was like, it's 12 of us yentas here. And so we're having fun and they're doing this. There was on the, so she showed the video, there was all on the beach and blah, 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 blah. So Rachel tells Mark that she got into it with Teresa at the brunch. And so, her whole thing was, what was your intentions in bringing up that John was the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County? She just kept dancing. Rachel is saying how Teresa just kept dancing around and wouldn't answer her. And so, the same old, I said he was, not he is. And so I think John Fuda comes in and says, hey, so he says, hey to Margaret, and he's listening. And then so Rachel tells Margaret, then she asked me, isn't he a parking attendant? And that was just so like, what? And if I remember correctly, Rachel's response was, yeah, he makes $5. And so Margaret goes say, well, isn't her husband unemployed and mooches off of her? That was good. That was good. So next we get to Dolores and Polly. They go have lunch. So she was like, oh, I got to talk to you about the brunch. And it cracks me up how production sets these scenes up where it seems like two people who live together don't talk until they go out on a date. Like, what are you guys doing at home? Not talking? I like how they kind of like, I know you got to wait and do it for the show, but why does it always got to seem like this is your first time telling them? And we know you went home to them, right? Didn't you tell them when you got home? Anyway, back to the show. So she's talking about the brunch. And so she brought up Frank and Brittany getting engaged and all that. And that's where I think all this is coming from. I think Dolores cannot believe that Frank is getting remarried before she is, because he was single for so long. And so she's been dating. serial dating, and she just hasn't hit. And she's failing with this relationship. This, they may be going in two different directions. So she says that Kayla and Tiffany, which are Danielle's friends, they were there and they asked, do you want to get married? They asked her, did she want to get married or whatever? And so she was like, I want real estate and a ring. But, no reason to talk about that until the divorce is final, do you think, so Polly was like, do you think that I'm gonna get on my knee and propose to you the day after my divorce? Like, he like telling her, like, you can stop waiting, chill out. So she was like, yeah, like, what's taking so long? Because, it's getting on my nerves a little bit. And, it cracks me up. I'm listening to her, and she always puts a little bit, like, she wants to make a big deal. She wants to make a deal out of something, but not a big deal. She wants to make it a small deal. But it's like, Dolores, you can't say a little bit. Just a touch. Say it and say it with your chest, girl. You got big old chi-chis. Say it with your chest. Because, it's getting on my nerves a little bit. Like, that's supposed to soften the blow. So now, so he said, so now you're getting angry? And she's like, yeah, like, I'm getting frustrated because, you told me that you would be divorced. And they both said last year. So he remembers, he's aware. He said he can't remember why, but he pushed the divorce out. And so, then she compares this relationship with her ex David, on how, he wasn't moving towards marriage either. And she didn't move in with Paul. No, she was talking about how she did not move in with David because they were not engaged. And then she moves in with Paul and they're still not engaged. And she's been living there for a year. So, what's going on? And so he's like, we're separating stuff and that's taking some time. And, it takes 3 years, and he was like, you think I'm telling you the truth? No, you think I'm not telling you the truth? Like, you don't believe me? Like, he ready to pop off. Like, Dolores, like, duck, run, block your head. He coming for you, girl. So he was so she was just saying how, I might wake up one day, I might decide to rethink this thing. And I'm surprised she didn't say a little bit. And so he was like, well, I would prefer that you do it sooner than later. If you gotta, because I'm not rethinking this thing or anything like that. So if you need to rethink it, then you need to check in with yourself. I was like, dang, Polly, chill. Like, oh my God, did y'all just break up in front of us? Was that a ultimatum? I'm like, oh my gosh. So she was like, she was saying something like, or do you just stay in this situation? And, it's just not sensible to me. You don't want to get divorced. You don't want to get, it's just not sensible to me. And so he was like, if it's not moving fast enough for you, then you need to make a change. Ooh. And she was like, oh, why are you getting like nasty a little bit for? Here we go with the little bit. No, that wasn't little girl. He pretty much told you to kick rocks. If that's how you feel, let him know now. That's what he told you. Kick rocks. You can kick rocks or you can just go with the flow, honey. But you're not going to be stressing him out. What do you want to do, Dolores? So she was like, you getting nasty? He was like, no. You asked me a question and I'm brutally honest. And I'm like, wow, like, goodness, girl, like, chill. Okay, Polly, like, okay, chill. Like, Dolores is like, she's cool. She's cute. Like, isn't she bringing stuff to the table? Like, she deserves you. Like, hurry up, bruh. Shoot. I don't think he's used to anybody, pulling his card, And so Dolores was like, huh. So next thing, Danielle is at the house. She's talking to her husband, Nate, about how she's nervous because the New York Fashion Week is coming up and she got to get ready for the fashion show. She's closing the fashion show out with the bougie kids, and she is so nervous. Nate is very supportive. He's complimenting her on the fashions. He's picking up the clothes and looking at them and complimenting them and all this and all that. And so he was like, "So who's coming?" And so she was like, "Melissa, our friends, not my mom, because mom, she scheduled a cruise, a European cruise, and she going on her cruise." So then she says her godmom is coming, and her godmom is her father's first cousin. So she's kind of like, a cousin and a godmom, but probably more like an auntie because of the age. So she was like, "My godmom is coming." And so she explains to us that she got her bougie personality and her bouginess from her godmother. She's like a second mom to her. She's a very good dresser. She wears all the Louis and all that. And they mean the world to each other. So she was like, "I didn't invite my dad." And she said, "I just don't want the added stress there. And I just don't want this and I don't want that." Okay, so now Marge must be back from South Carolina because now she's at a golf course doing a charity event, and she called the girls to come help. And the charity is called Clubs for the Cause, and it benefits first responders and their children. So she has Rachel and John out there in the course, Melissa and Joe, Polly and Dolores come also. So the ladies are together. They're riding around the golf cart and they're passing out the mocktails car soiree to all the golfers, and the men are playing golf. So then we go to the gins are meeting for margaritas. The gins, as in Fessler and Aiden, they sit down and meet. So they're like, "Hi, hi, 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 hi." And of course, they're going to talk about stuff, the brunch. So at the golf course, the girls take a break because it's hot. And so they're sitting under a tree and they talk about Melissa's upcoming housewarming party. So she's like, she told them that she invited Jackie. And then she was trying to explain why she invited Jackie. And then Margaret cuts her off, interrupts, and says, "Yeah, you don't want her to spiral." Spiral out of control, putting her into her darkest moment in her darkest hour. You don't want that. I was like, "Oh man." So she also tells them that she invited Jennifer Aiden. So back at the restaurant with the gins, Jennifer Aiden tells Fessler she's going to Melissa's housewarming party, and her and Melissa are going to be respectful, and they're not going to talk about Teresa. So Fessler asks, "Well, how is Teresa going to handle you becoming friends with Melissa?" And so she was like, "But she acknowledges that we all will be together in with multiple occasions. They got to work together. They're on the show." She said, "I gotta do I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta do what's best for me. We're letting go and we're moving on." So she said she hadn't told Teresa that she was going to the housewarming party, but she did tell her she was invited, and she said that she felt like Teresa was fine with her being invited. Fester says she's in the same boat. She's becoming friendlier with Teresa, and it's hard for Rachel and Margaret to accept. Uh, and it's a bummer. She goes on to say how it's a bummer how people can love and then hate each other. Danielle brought up the setting her up again about Melissa, and they were like, "They did not set you up." And she said she wasn't happy that she had Lena at the brunch. And Lena was at the dog party that Jen Aiden threw. And Danielle was like, "This is a VIP story," and the hairdresser, and talking about that whole Danielle didn't let her sit in the VIP section because Danielle said, like, "Who is she to sit with us?" And then Festa was like, "Well, yeah, she came to your rescue in a 911 situation to do your hair for free." And so blah, blah, blah. And so Rachel and Teresa, she said, so Rachel and Teresa got into it. And Teresa was super calm. She was more triggered by Danielle. And so Teresa told Rachel that she wasn't saying the drug dealer now. I'm saying he was a drug dealer. So Fessler says she was glad Teresa took accountability finally. And Jennifer Aiden says Teresa left with no closure from Rachel or Danielle. Then Fester gonna say, "Don't start none, won't be none." But she couldn't get it together, so she said, "How does it go? Don't give none." Oh God, Fessler. So Aiden's like, "No, don't start none, won't be done." So Melissa tells Margaret that she missed a SH beep show of a brunch. Rachel is done with Teresa. She was like, my tank is all empty. I cannot deal with her no more. I'm done. So Dolores brings up her and Polly. Oh my God, again, Dolores. So she's like, do you think I'm gonna get, so she tells him that he asked her, do you think I'm gonna get on my knee the day after I get a divorce? And Margaret was like, why not? She said her and Joe got married a week after her divorce. They went to Vegas, blah, 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 blah. And then the production shows us pictures. So Dolores is like, well, I want the big ring, no big wedding or a big dress. And it's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And why are you negotiating your wants? Why can't you want what you want? This is your life. You don't need to change or, oh, God. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. But anyway, no, ma'am, you do. You want the big dress, just like how Teresa had that big dress. You want the big hair like Teresa. Yes, you do, Dolores. So then like that, because I think if you were with the right one, you would get exactly what you wanted because he would make sure that you get what you want. So then Paul is with the guys. He tells them that he's moving his office to Jersey, and him and Dolores are really doing this flipping the houses together thing, and it's going pretty well. And he was like, this is the transition that we're making towards, that. But she wants a ring. She wants to be engaged. And so Joe tells us, he's been knowing Dolores since they were 5. And he was like, Dolores wants to sit back and drive a Rolls Royce while he goes to work. Don't get it twisted. And he was like, and Paul hasn't figured that out with that big old head of his. Then I guess Joe and John lost with the golfing. And Joe always got some mannish kind of almost gayish type of way, but not, Boise gay thing he always wants to do with the guys. So this is Joe, Margaret's husband, had to lay on the grass, and Joe hit the ball on his butt, and it hurt. Oh, he was in pain. He couldn't get up. Oh my God. So then he calls Gorga a scumbag. Then John Fuda had to do the same thing, but when he laid down on the ground, he had his hands up on his butt, protecting himself from the ball. Because they got I don't know the name, I don't golf, but the white thing that the ball sits on, he had his hands protecting his body. So that white thing was able to sit up higher where the ball is, and so it wouldn't be no contact with the ball in his butt. So Joe Gorga hits the golf ball off his butt. And I'm like, why do y'all do this? Why is this fun? I mean, like, come on. I didn't want to see Margaret's husband's butt. But here we are. So Danielle is backstage at the fashion show getting all the little girls dressed. Some are friends of her friend's daughters. Her daughter is there. Even the agency had sent other little kid models over, and it was cute. So they're all over the place being kids, and she's trying to get them in control and this and that and that. So Melissa shows up with her cousin Nick, and they sit with Nate. And the show is really nice. The clothes are very basic, Danielle, just like Teresa said. They are very basic. Hot pink dress with the tutu, with the I saw I saw a little boy with a camo outfit on. Just it was very basic, but like Teresa said, it's the meat and potatoes. So Teresa and Louis the lobster are at home doing their yoga. I believe this is the day that they're getting ready to go meet up with Rachel and John. So they're doing their yoga and they're trying to keep their peace, and they're gonna they're doing their zen and their meditation and all that. So Rachel and John, they're at home getting ready for the beep show. And production shows us Louis asking Paul to reach out to John Fuda to end the drama. John wants a public apology from Teresa for calling him a drug dealer and what was the parking attendant. So then we see Paul. He's calling Louis back with and telling him what John said. So Teresa thinks John has a lot of audacity to ask her to apologize to him. And she was saying how he's very ballsy, and then she can't even picture his balls. And then she goes into that, shut up, Teresa. So then Teresa doesn't feel like they've done nothing wrong. What? She probably said that in court too. John calls Louis a narcissist, says he wants to have control by knowing everyone's secrets, and says that they accuse people of the things that they're doing. Like if you're calling me a drug dealer, that's probably because you're a drug dealer. I'm like, I don't agree with that, but moving on. Teresa says John owes Louis an apology for putting false narratives out there. And so John's ex came forward and denied that Louis and her talked. And so production shows the blogs reporting the news about this. John says he already knows that this meetup is going to go left, and he was right. Sometimes you got to speak positivity. Excuse me. Sometimes you got to speak positivity into the universe so that you will receive the positivity. It went left because you said it was going to go left. And then you walked in there acting left and you left and now nothing is right. And so he was like, Teresa is not rational. Rachel and John get to the restaurant first. And did y'all hear that John reserved a private room? Like, he's like, Teresa's not going to be sitting out here in this dining room embarrassing me in front of all these people flipping tables in the restaurant. We going to take this crazy nutbag into a private room. So she want to act a fool. It'll be in private. And I'm like, I heard that, John. Rachel comes in, she's there, so she does not want to sit next to Teresa or Louis. So she's like, well, I'm gonna sit here, you sit there. She don't want to sit nowhere near them, but you come in to meet, but they'll sit across from each other. So Teresa and Louis the Lobster, they arrive. John speaks. I don't really think both of them spoke back or whatever. So Teresa brings a bottle in a bag, and it's for Joe, her brother's housewarming party. So she's telling Rachel, I want you to get this to him for me. And so Rachel said, okay. I was like, you can mail that. Go ahead and mail that to him, honey. I'm not in it. Because it's just mess. It's like, girl, go drop it off. Mail it to him. Shoot, that old here, get this to him. Really? So John sits down and he asks, well, who's going to start? So Louis told him to start. Then John says, oh, it's not appropriate for me to start. Why don't you start? It's like, John, like, come on. This is what I'm saying. You put that negativity in the universe and look how you're acting. Why did you ask them who going to go first or who going to start why did you have to ask? Why didn't you just say, okay, you start? You already kind of being petty, and I get it. John probably is not used to having a whole bunch of confrontations and all this drama, or this is just the way he handles things, but So, and so John says, oh, speaking of your brother, he's the reason why I came out of respect for him. Joe is a good guy. Okay, you said that to say what? Because Teresa don't care. Stick to the point. We don't have all day, John. We're not trying to dance all over the place. Get to the point. So Teresa says she never had a problem with them, and all of a sudden, just what is going on? And so Rachel says, "Well, Teresa, it just feels like you never wanted to be my friend. Oh, because of yeah, because of Melissa." And she's right. So Teresa says, "Well, I get it. Sometimes it's hard to get close to another person when you're already close to a person." So she's talking about you know Melissa. So Teresa told John that they had a connection also, and so John said, "But what changed? What changed? Why the drug dealer comment? You know, you put that in the universe. I didn't put that in the universe. You put that in the universe." It was like, what? Okay, so this is Teresa backpedaling. John said, "Bump all that. Where's my apology?" He was like, "I ain't caring about the universe and who put what, where, what. I said I was showing up here to talk, and my grounds and my rule was you apologize to me for calling me a drug dealer and a parking attendant. Get back to the basics." So Teresa says, "Well, did you hear what I said?" She said, if I said you were the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County, I apologize. If I said, Teresa, you said it. You said it. But the backpedaling begins and continues. "Don't take my past from 20 years ago when I was a juvenile and I sold weed, and weed is now legal, and blah, 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 blah." And so Teresa told y'all, "I don't care." And you think this girl knows what a verb is? She don't even know how to argue. So he says, "You should care because you took that information from a criminal who is currently in jail for manufacturing crystal meth." And so Teresa's like, "Stop it, stop it. That's Jada's mom. Stop it. Like, stop saying that." And so, because they're talking about, John's ex, his baby mama. "Don't say that. Don't say that." So Rachel says, "I'm Jada's mom. Nice to meet you." I said, "Well, OMG. This should have been the title of this episode. Instead of Margs and marriage, it should have been, I'm Jada's mom. Nice to meet you." That should have been the title of this episode. So John continues, "And you don't know her." And his son, he talking about how his son has to go through all this and you don't know what he's gone through and da 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 da. So then he goes and explains the story about him and the ex. And he says, "I didn't understand anything he was saying next." So he says, "She pulled a wheel on me." I don't know what that means, besties. If you know what pull a wheel on me means, can you put that down there? And now that I'm looking at it, maybe they were in a car and she grabbed the steering wheel, maybe while he was driving. And then he said, and that put him into a telephone pole at 55 miles an hour. So maybe that's what he was saying, how this nutbag grabbed the steering wheel while he was driving and they ran into a telephone pole. And so he snapped his femur bone. And then he was saying how God watched over him. He's lucky because, I guess, it could have went, terribly. He could have been disabled, or maybe even unalived. I'm not sure. So he told her, "You owe me an apology." Teresa says, "Well, you owe us one." So he wouldn't let Teresa finish. It was a lot of Teresa still backpedaling. And so it was a lot of, "Well, we're not doing this tit for tat. And, stick to the deal. Because when I do a deal, I stick to the deal and blah, 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 blah." And so then she asked, "Didn't I say sorry?" And he was like, "No, I want an authentic apology." "John, you owe my husband an apology because you hurt his business by putting some false lie out there." Is that why Louis don't have a job or isn't working, or his business is out of business because of John Fuda, a parking attendant and a drug dealer, the biggest drug dealer? Is that what happened? Come on, girl. But you don't even make sense. And so John says he's going to tell you the rules of how he plays in his life. You don't say the rules. You're going to listen to what I'm saying. And so Teresa, you brought up his name first. So John, he kind of beats on the table. It says, Rachel, let's go. This means he has had enough. He is done. He threw in the towel. The fat lady has sung, I'm out. So Rachel, let's go. So she stands up, he stands up, and he's still going back and forth with Teresa. And it's like, why? He going, he's still talking about this apology. And like, if you didn't want to, then this conversation is over. And so she was like, see you, John. What is it, Farazi? And he was like, yeah, Fugazi. He was like, bye, John Fugazi. And I'm like, Fugazi? What is that? So I had to Google that, y'all. So Fugazian it's a last name, but it also means fraud, a fake person, or a messed up situation. And so that he calls Teresa, well, you're the poster child for mortgage fraud, and you're a money launderer. And I was like, poster child for mortgage fraud could have been the title for this episode too. That would have been nice. And so he said, yeah, as they're walking out, yeah, when I need my money laundered, I'll call you. And so Teresa goes, drug dealer. It was like, oh boy, Teresa has no fight in the game. She don't have no strength. She don't have a vocab. She ain't got clap back. She don't know how to say nothing but my husband, whatever you say, she gonna take it and put it back on you. She has no game at all. It was a terrible fight. It was terrible. I'm gonna keep it at a C. It can't get no better than a C for me. Besties, that was the end of actually it's a to be continued for next week. So we got to tune in to see what happens, honey. And Louis was just sitting there not saying nothing. I was like, why are you here, sir? Teresa could have came by herself. And I hope he checked her, be like, you was terrible. You don't know how to argue. You just don't have no wordsmith about yourself. You don't have no game. You just don't even know. You just grew with the whole thing. So anyway, besties, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Put your comments down in the chat below. Let me know what you thought about the episode. And I will see you, besties, on the next video. Bye.